Hrabluk. I am a writer, and whoops, we're going the wrong way. Whoops. There we go. Now we can start again. My name is Hrabluk. I'm a writer, and I have this wicked idea that we can change the conversation around complicated and hot-button issues. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to start talking to strangers the way we talk to our closest friends. Now, I don't know about you guys, but ever since I was a little kid, I love to get together with my friends. We like to hang out, explore new ideas, share the latest news, and talk about the stuff that matters. When we were really little, we liked to go to some cozy little nook away from our parents. When I was in high school, it was our table in the cafeteria. And from university on, it's been pubs and coffee houses and our friends' back decks. And this being the Maritimes, I'd also say it's probably those bonfires down at the beach. Now, my friends and I, we've got some pretty strong opinions. And when we get together, sometimes we argue. In fact, sometimes we can get really mad at each other because we disagree. But in the end, we always come back to each other because we know that what defines us as a group is not what separates us and our differences of opinion, but rather it is these deeply held values that we share. Because we trust in each other, that is our connection. And it is trust that sits at the center of Wicked Ideas, which is going to change the conversation around hot-button issues. Wicked Ideas is going to become the honest broker in the conversation between organizations and governments and corporations that want or need to drive change, and the people, like you, who want to help influence that change. So why do we need to change the conversation? That's why. No. We hear that a lot these days. No, I don't have a job for you. No, you can't build that here. No, we don't have the money for that. No, I don't see a future for me here. Those are the conversations we are having in the public space right now. And that's not how we're going to solve our problems. God knows we've got enough of them. Youth underemployment, healthcare reform, economic malaise, resource development, and climate change. We are entering unknown territory, and we've been brought here by two powerful forces: rapid and profound global change, bumping up against the fiscal and demographic realities of New Brunswick. And we have a sense here in the Maritimes right now that we are being passed over, but by what? We are not quite sure. Now, in order to tell a new story, we have to change that conversation. And in order to do that, we need to borrow a phrase, people who think different. And we got a name for them. We call them innovators. And for the past 50 years, we have defined innovators as people who are in the sciences, technology, engineering, and math. Those four subjects, we put those four subjects together, and you call it STEM. Now, there's a growing movement to put some steam into that idea, and it's being led by a man named John Maida, who's the head of the Rhode Island School of Design, and I encourage all of you to check out his TED Talk and his website, STEM to STEAM. John Maida argues that we need to put an A into that word STEM, the arts, because as he says, artists are highly creative, collaborative, and when we work together, we like to leave an impact on our audience and our community. By putting artists together with our technologists and our scientists, we can humanize technology so that together we will create things to change the stuff that matters. We need to put arts and science back together. And that is what Wicked Ideas is going to do. Wicked Ideas is going to help all of us have reasonable conversations with people like you and me who want to drive that change, and those corporations, organizations, and nonprofits that want to be part of the change. And we do it in three ways. First, we start with original content, stories. We're going to tell new types of stories that put the emphasis on how we can drive change rather than on what separates us. Then, we're going to have directed conversations with people like you. We're going to go out, we're going to talk to you, and get your ideas and your experiences, and together we're going to tell new stories and try and find consensus and solutions to our biggest problems. And then the third piece is we're going to look at data analysis, sort of like the TSN turning point moment, but rather than watching where the play is going, we're going to track the issues so we can understand where you are going and where you want to take things. And combined, that is wicked ideas. Now, this is where the conversation is going, and it's already headed down that way with stuff where we're having fun. Whether you're on Pinterest or Reddit or Tumblr, people are getting together online to talk and share their ideas. And that online world is leaderless, it is self-regulating, it is creative, adaptive, and highly collaborative. Everything that government, education, media, and business are not. We, in those traditional institutions that we traditionally used to trust, we need to be able to cede a little bit of that control to the crowd so that they can give us the permission to lead and that we can move forward together. Now, I know this because I've been traveling this road for 20 years. And for the past 10 years, I've been exploring new ways to engage with the public. Back in 2003, Dr. John McLaughlin was the president of the University of New Brunswick. And he wanted to start a conversation with the people of New Brunswick about where the province was going. Now, he knew that the university had the research capacity to explore these complex issues, but it didn't have the capacity to tell stories to a broad audience. He needed a storyteller, and so he came to me. And at the time, I was a political columnist with the Telegraph Journal. And I gotta tell you, I have only ever wanted to be a writer. When I was 8 years old, my school principal published one of my poems in the school newsletter, and that was it, I was hooked. And I set off to be a journalist. And so in 2003, that's exactly what I was. And yes, Sebastian, your father is looking very good. So John came to me with his suggestion. It was new, it was innovative, and I said, naturally, no. Because I was doing exactly what I wanted to be doing. I was a journalist. Journalists work for newspapers. We don't go work for presidents of universities. That was what I was meant to be doing, and so I said no. I didn't want to change. But John was persistent, and he kept asking, and I kept saying no. And then one day, I told my big sister about John's idea, and she did what big sisters do. She looked at me and she said, "You are an idiot." And then she said something that has guided my decisions ever since. She said, "Imagine how you will feel when you meet the person who said yes." Well, I didn't want to meet that person. And so although I thought I was doing what I wanted to do, I took that leap, and I joined John. And together, we created 2 social enterprises. The first was NextNB, which indeed was a conversation with New Brunswickers. I wrote a series of essays, we had a bunch of forums, and we had a conference. But we also realized that in order to push ideas out to the public and get them to spread, we needed a network of people to carry it forward. And so we created a program called 21 Leaders for the 21st Century, now called 21 Inc. We targeted people between 20 and 35 because we wanted new ideas, and so we thought we needed a new generation of leaders to take it forward. Now, we didn't have the technology we have today back in 2004. In fact, email was the thing. And so we did what came naturally to me. I stuck everybody on a bus, and we spent 7 days touring New Brunswick, talking to different people and interviewing them to get a sense of what was going on. And in this picture, you'll see, it kind of looks like a newspaper scrum. But Tim and Youssef and Peter aren't journalists. They were part of the original 21 Leaders, and they're talking to Beth Pounding. And they're not grilling her, and she's not complaining. They're having an honest conversation. And we did that with all sorts of people, in the arts, in politics, in business, and social development for 7 days. And you know what? It worked. It broadened their perspective. And it made them think differently about what they could accomplish in this province. Now, I learned one other thing from 21 Inc. And this is the original 21 group on our very last night. At the end of the program, John, who is down there in the front in the green turtleneck, said that in order for this idea to take hold, that original group had to grab hold of it and push it forward. believe them and let them do it on their own. Now that was an incredibly difficult message for me to receive because I had created this idea. It was based on my experiences as a journalist. And to be told after I had done all this that I had to give it away was something that was very difficult for me to do. But it was an incredibly important message for me to learn. Because if you want any idea to take flight, you cannot hold on and control it. You have to release it into the care of those who love it as much as you do and hope that they will nurture it. And that is exactly what that group of people did. They created 21 Inc. And today I can stand here and say it's still going strong. We have over 200 alumni, most of them still working and living and advocating for change here in New Brunswick. And this past year, we held our first tour in Nova Scotia. Now, 10 years ago, I couldn't have predicted that 21 Inc. was going to be a success. I couldn't have predicted that I would never return to my beloved newspapers. And I sure as heck couldn't have predicted I was standing on this stage in front of all of you, declaring myself to be an entrepreneur and the founder of a tech startup. But here I am. At my core, I am the same, but I am different. Because I placed my trust in someone else, I stepped off my chosen path, and I dared to say yes. And that might be the most wicked idea